for quadrilaterals. For your tests for quadrilaterals. The trapezoid side is all on its own, so I'm going to kind of ignore the trapezoid side today. You guys should have it filled out. We've done that one like 5 times now. But remember, I'm going to verbally talk about the trapezoids for a second. To determine it's a trapezoid, you do the slope of all 4 sides. That's how you start any single quadrilateral, right? Is do the slope of all 4 sides. If one set of sides is parallel, then it's a trapezoid. If both sets of sides are parallel, then it's going to be a parallelogram. So that's how you know which one of these pathways to go down. Do you see how there's 2 different pathways? So you use the trapezoid pathway if it's only one set of parallel sides, and you use the parallelogram pathway if it is both sides are parallel. So we're going to look at the parallelogram because we're going to have to do these same steps again. So I'm going to write this down again. So to determine if it's a parallelogram, the first thing you do is you find the slope of all 4 sides. So find slope of all 4 sides. And then you look for both sets of sides must be parallel. For them to be parallel, what do you know about the slope? What do you know about the slope? It's the same. So you're looking for that same slope. So if that is true, you then check if it's a rectangle. So if that is true, you go straight to the rectangle. You check to see if the slopes or the consecutive sides are perpendicular. When it's perpendicular, remember your slopes are what? So the sides next to each other must have opposite reciprocal slopes. So you must have opposite reciprocal slopes. If that is true, you have a rectangle. Otherwise, you need to check if it's a rhombus. So if this is false, I'm going to say I'm going to put that as a 4, sorry. Step 3 is false. Find the slope of the diagonals. So if step 3 is false, you're going to find the slope of the diagonals. What do we want our diagonals to be if it's a rhombus? What do you want the diagonals to be if it's a rhombus? What do you guys know about the diagonals of a rhombus? Yeah. We need to check if they are perpendicular. So their slopes are opposite reciprocals. So that's what we'll be doing today. And technically, I guess it could be true or false to do this because next week or this week, whenever we get into squares, for it to be a square, what it's going to be is you're going to do every single one of these steps. And if both of them are true, it's a square. So you won't add a step for a square. You just have to make sure that 3 and 4 are both true. Okay? So, for example, a rhombus means that step 3 is false and the slope of the diagonals are perpendicular. For a square, when we get to that later this week, it's going to be both 3 and 4 have to be true. Okay? So you'll do the same steps that we've been doing, except we're just going to be adding that. Yeah.
You know what's for trapezoid and isosceles trapezoid?
I'll give you my sheet. Because I did those last week. Just give that back to me when you're done.
Okay, thank you.
I think I went over those again last week when you weren't here. And this purple sheet, Logan's using it right now, but if you guys have missed anything, I have it up on my podium along with the pink sheet. So if you guys need to look at stuff, just let me know. All right, so let's get started. So test for rhombi. If a quadrilateral is a parallelogram and its diagonals are perpendicular, then it's a rhombus. So remember, perpendicular means forms right angles. So it's saying if these are parallel and it forms right angles, then it is that. Or if it is a parallelogram and the diagonals bisect each opposite angle. The problem with that is we can't determine angle measure, so that's why we have to do that first one there. But if that was the case, it would look like this. Just to remind you guys of some properties of the rhombi. And then we'll get into our slopes. When you're ready, go ahead and flip. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so it says, use numerical evidence to determine whether the figure with the given vertices is a quadrilateral, trapezoid, isosceles trapezoid, parallelogram, rectangle, or a rhombus. List all the classifications that apply, and we are going to circle the most precise or specific one. So first things first, I am going to find the slope of all of my sides, because that's always the first step. AB, BC, CD, and AC, or AD, sorry. As a reminder, the slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 8 minus 6 over 6 minus a negative 2. Two negatives make a positive, so that's 2 over 8, or 1/4. So that is negative 8 over negative 2, which is 4. Did I do something wrong somewhere? I feel like one of my... Nope, they are positive. So I have 4, 0, and negative 4, negative 2. So I have negative 2 minus 0 over negative 4 minus 4. So that's negative 2 over negative 8, which is still 1/4. And some of you guys just count the slope on the graph, and that is completely fine. Others of you might prefer the equation. I don't really care, whatever makes more sense to you. So I have negative 2 minus 6 over negative 4 minus a negative 2. Two negatives make a positive, so that's negative 8 over negative 2, which is 4. Okay, are my opposite sides parallel? How many sets? 2. So is this a parallelogram or a trapezoid? So far we have a quadrilateral parallelogram. Where did triangle come from?
Not triangle, rectangle.
Is it a rectangle?
Yes.
Are consecutive sides perpendicular? They're reciprocals, but are they opposite? No. So that means we need to check what next? We need to check if it's a rhombus by checking the diagonals. So the next check is for the diagonals to see if it's a rhombus. It is not a rectangle. So give me one of the diagonals. They need to be...
they're not perpendicular because it's not negative. Remember?
Right, they're not opposite. So give me a diagonal, Devin.
BD.
BD. In Iku, what's another one?
AC.
AC. So we have to check if AC and BD are perpendicular to each other. So we are going to find the slope of AC and BD. So if they're perpendicular, what are we looking for these slopes to be? What do we need these slopes to be? They need to be opposite reciprocal. So I get -1. And I get -10 over -10, which is +1. Are 1 and -1 opposite reciprocals? Yep, so those are perpendicular, right? So what shape do we have then? It is a rhombus, and that is our most specific, so I circle that one, or box it, because I don't really do circles very often. Or cloud it. That's another way of doing it. I don't care. Just make sure you tell me that's the most specific case. So notice, you are going to have to remember a couple things for these tests. No matter what, your first step is going to be the slope of all four sides. No matter what. All right? From there, you have to decide if it's one set or two sets of parallel sides. If it's one set, then you have a trapezoid, okay? But you're not done with the trapezoid. What do you have to do next if it's a trapezoid? If it is a trapezoid, what's the next step? Anybody? If you know it's a trapezoid, what do you do next? What about the diagonals? You do the distance of the diagonals for a trapezoid. If they're the same distance, then it's an isosceles trapezoid. Otherwise, if you do the slope and it's all four sides are, or not all four sides, sorry, two sets of opposite sides are parallel, then you have a parallelogram. So that's when you check if those consecutive sides are perpendicular. And if they're perpendicular, then it's a rectangle. If it's not perpendicular, you would check the diagonals are perpendicular, so you do the slope of those, and you check if those are perpendicular. If those are both true, we will learn this later on this week, then it's going to be a square. Okay? So there's not going to be much more work for that, but just wanted to let you guys know that. So we're going to do the same thing here. We have EF, FG, GH, and EH. And we're going to find the slope. So I do 2 minus 7 over 7 minus a -2. Two negatives make a positive. So I get -5 over -9, which is positive 5/9. Two negatives make a positive, so I get 5 over -9, which is negative 5/9. So I do 7 minus 2 over -2 minus a -11. Two negatives make a positive, so that's 5 over 9. All right. How many sets of parallel sides do I have? Two. So is this a trapezoid or a parallelogram? It is a parallelogram. Are my consecutive sides perpendicular? Are my consecutive sides perpendicular? They're opposites of each other, but are they reciprocals? No. So negative 5/9 and 5/9 are opposite signs, but this one would have had to be 9/5 for it to be a reciprocal. So it's not a rectangle. So we are now checking our diagonals. So Morgan, give me a diagonal. And Greg, what's the other one?
FH.
You're just looking at this. You should notice that one's a vertical and one's a horizontal line. So you may not even have to do the slope formula for this, but I'll just show it to you with that. But we do know that horizontal and vertical lines are perpendicular to each other. So I just put H, E, G, okay. So right now we know it's a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides and it's a parallelogram. So we're checking to make sure it's not a rhombus. So again, I'm going to find the slope of EG. And HF. And I get -3 minus 7 over -2 minus a -2. So that's -10/0. Can you divide by 0? Nope, so that's undefined. And then I have 2 minus 2 over -11 minus 7, which is 0 over -18. Can you divide by 0, or 0 divided by anything is? Those are perpendicular to each other, so we have a rhombus. So if you ever get that situation, just realize that means it's like the undefined 0 are perpendicular to each other. Okay, one more, and I'm going to show this without doing the slope formula, so if you guys want to see how to count the slope instead, that is fine. I don't care which way you do it, but just to give you guys another method here. Again, you will have a quiz over this stuff on Wednesday. No, for you guys it will be Thursday, so just so you're aware. Okay, so I'm going to write IJ, JK, KL, and IL. Okay, we're going to count the slope. So IJ, and I guess this is 9 and this is 5 because it's halfway between. So we're going to count up and over. So how many is it up from 2 to 9? So they go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. To the left, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's -4. So you see how you can count your slope on the graph there? It's y over x, so that's negative. So it's 7 over -4 or -7 over 4. Those are the same thing. Because from 2 to 9 is 7. From 1 to 5 is 4. You do not have to do it this way. I'm just showing you guys another way. JK goes up and over. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. To the right 4, so that's also positive. So you understand that when I go up it's positive and then right is positive, down would be negative, and left would be negative, just so you guys are aware of that. So we do rise over run, so that's just 7 over 4. Okay, we go down and over. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going down 7, so that's negative. So then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's to the right, so that's positive 4. So that's -7 over 4. Again, if you prefer using the formula, that is completely fine with me. I'm just trying to give you guys another option here. So I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. To the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's positive 4. Y over X. So that's, I feel like I did something wrong there. That's because I counted the wrong way. Sorry. I'm going up 7 from there. So that is 7 over 4. And you can tell that my slope is positive here based on it going upwards. All right. How many opposite sides do I have that are parallel? 2. I have 2 sets of opposite sides parallel. So is that a trapezoid or a parallelogram? Parallelogram. So I so far have a quadrilateral and a parallelogram. So then I have to check the diagonals. What do you notice about our diagonals? They're vertical and horizontal. So the diagonals, a vertical line, which is JL. The vertical line has a slope of what? Who knows the slope of a vertical line? Undefined. And KI is a slope of 0. So we just found the slope there. So that makes this a rhombus because those are perpendicular. All right. I'm going to get